Morning. It's about 6:30 on Monday morning, and I woke up this morning and was gonna have a cup of coffee in when some things came to me, and I thought, well, I need to get on here and talk about it. So here we are. So there's some things that it became clear to me just this morning, and one of them is that, God knows who we are, and He knows the free will He gave us and how that wreaks havoc with us, because we don't do the things that we need to or that we should on our own. That free will, He gave us free will for whatever reason He saw fit. But at the end of the day, free will is not an excuse to not do what God's asking you or commanding you through scriptures. It's the way you don't have to obey, but it's also a way that we ended up right here where we are today. I realized through my own experience, and you guys are watching me, and it's again by His design. He didn't do that to punish me. He did that to help you, to help me, to help us. Because we don't reach for God until we are in terrible shape. Most of us, right? And I hesitate to say this, but I think I have to. Church is inherently, or can be inherently, a good thing. However, you can go to church every single Sunday, and unless the right person is up there speaking to you and you're listening and really tuned into what he's saying, the message isn't clear, or may not be clear. And I realized this morning that God's message is, He's not afraid to beat us up. In fact, He knows that that's how He gets our attention. I can go back in my mind to, I was at a hotel in Sanford, North Carolina, and somebody stole my keys out of the truck, and I knew they were gone. The moment I couldn't find them in the room, I knew I left them in the truck, and I knew they weren't going to be there. Well, I spent 4 or 5 days in that truck at least, and I don't know, it might have been a couple of weeks, but it was so very cold, and there was holes in the floorboards, and the wind, it was like a wind tunnel in the front seat, and I had blankets all over me, and I stuffed another one down on the floor just to keep my size 13 shoes from having air blow through them, because my feet were frozen. And I had a guy from Crossroads Church came out, the security guy there at the hotel, found me sleeping in the truck, and he needed to get me out of there. So he actually felt bad for me, and he called a minister from Crossroads Church down the road about 10 miles or so, and he came down. And now when he showed up, he brought me some ramen noodles and a cup of coffee, and I thought that was, I thought he was going to take me out of there and take me to a mission or a shelter or something, and he didn't. And I thought, wow, that was cruel. And the next night, I walked all the way to that mission in the misty rain and the cold. I walked out there thinking that that was going to be my saving grace. I thought that that was God. God had sent this man to lead me somewhere that was going to help me. I walked the 10 or so miles in the middle of the night. Got kicked out of a store where I stopped just to get warm. And I realized in the course of that suffering, well, actually, I don't think I realized that at that time. It was It was later. But I didn't find help there, okay? Nobody knew even who he was, this person that came in and gave me a coin about this ministry. Nobody standing out there in the parking lot even knew who he was. They weren't very welcoming. They were more like, well, what can we do for you? Why would you walk out here? You know, or whatever, you know. And I realized that it was about sufficiently being broken. Because we don't, when the bills are paid and the rent's on and the heat's on and the lights are on, you got a hot shower, we don't get up in the morning and reach for God. We don't, because all these things are going correctly. And I also realized that that's why we're in the end of times. He needs us sufficiently broken so that he drives us to our knees. And we have no other place to look but up. And that's how God works. Now he's done this with me, and I'm a hard-headed dude. You know, you've been watching me a long time now, I'm betting. Again, it's been hidden from me, so I don't really know. But I believe today that you've been watching me a long time get beat down like a crash test dummy, because I've also been very, very angry with God. Resentful. I thought, well, God, I've lived well. Why would you beat me up like this? Why would you humiliate me? Why would you let me humiliate myself? And I realized this morning that that's what it takes to shut our free will down so that we're no longer doing things that it's coming out of our brain. He needs us to do things, or he wants us to do things that are coming out of his book, the Bible. I also realized that I carried a Bible around with me, one that I was given as a young person. The church gave me a Bible, and I moved it from apartment to apartment, and it gathered dust, and, you know, it, like I say, just every time, the only time the dust got knocked off it is if I moved it to another place. You know, I'd move from one woman to another, and that's when it would get cleaned up enough to hit another bookshelf. But, because I was still smiling, and I was still living and loving, and I didn't have to look for God. There was enough happiness inside me to not feel the need. We don't do these things until we have this need, until something is so broken and we just can't fathom how it got that way or why. You know, those are the times that we get closer to God. I also realized that our souls, it's not until your soul is sufficiently broken, you know, that it'll push you to reach for God. There's a tie in there somewhere. And we've lost so many things that we are, you know, humans were put. I go back to Adam and Eve again, probably because it's, you know, because they don't know the Bible as well as they should. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That's really what it boils down to. But that's a story I know a little bit about. So I look at this stuff and I thought, well, I've been so angry. I've been so hateful and rebellious. You know, it's been months, literally. I've been walking the streets here, and boots 3 sizes too big, and wind blowing through the floorboards like I was in a wind tunnel in a 25-degree night. I'm walking walking 10 miles in the rain to find a place for breakfast and a bed just to get there and see a pew and a bunch of people that didn't even know the guy that sent me there. I lost my truck, I lost my clothes, I lost my shoes, I lost everything you can lose. My girl, any comfort, the intimacy that I crave. I lost my children. Whom I will go to my grave loving and missing probably. And I hope that's not the case. I'm 60 years old and I'm ready to have another kid because I long for that connection. And I've yet to achieve the right connection with my children. So many things that just, these are truths, right? But they are, and I also realized that, the channel that I just created here for YouTube, I'm going to change the name. And I'm probably going to change it 2 or 3 times. I had written a book that I called Snowblind. And I lost that book. And at some point, out of my mouth came, well, that's not the book that's the book I'm not supposed to write. Or that's not the book I'm supposed to write. And I believe that to be my truth today. But I also believe that it's not about me. And for that reason, I am going to change the name. And right now I'm just under heading of Doug Grant or Douglas Grant, whatever YouTube's up at. But these are messages from Source or the Creator or whatever. And I'm going to go with that for right now until this progresses to a point where I can do what I really think should be done. But I think that right now, what's important is that I get this stuff out, and hopefully you're still watching, and hopefully you're thinking. Because what we're doing here is biblical, and it's going to change this world to something that we don't even know exists. There's powers in this world, and there's powers from within us, each of us, that we haven't even tapped upon. And when comes a time when we are all doing these things, things will become possible that we're not even aware of. We're not looking for aliens that built them pyramids. We're looking for spirituality. We are looking for shamans. We are looking for people that were so in tune with God's world that they had harnessed something that we still today don't even know exists. Well, I know it exists. And if you stay with me, I don't think it's going to be a long time at this point because I'm getting these headaches, but these headaches accompany thoughts that are unmistakably coming from somewhere, man. I mean, they're so awakening, powerful, that I can't slow it down, I can't stop it, I can't do anything to speak it. I'll spend the whole day holding on to my temples and cussing and throwing shit all day, just to realize there's peace at the end. And I think that's my message for now.